All right, here we are. It is an unusually dark morning. I feel like it's probably that darn box, my lawnmower box. I need to break it down and throw it away, but it's been floating around in my garage for a while. And I moved it recently, and I think my car was rubbing up against it when it was driving. I was like, it sounds like I'm hitting something, but it was just a box. A big ol' empty box that needs to be attended to. But at any rate, we have another morning ahead of us. I'm gonna take my time this morning because I woke up and left entirely too early. I'm covering somebody who usually starts their day at 6, and so I was hoping that, or I was needing to come in at 6 so that I can cover their exact hours, but I don't have the timing quite down yet. Yesterday, I pulled in at exactly 6 o'clock, and I was like, okay, so I want to do something a little earlier than that, and so today it's like 5 o'clock and I'm just now leaving the house, and it only takes me about 20 minutes to get there, so it's like, darn, I'm either way early or exactly on time. There's no in between. And I could have stayed at home when I realized how close to time I was, but I decided not to. So I was like, I'm ready to go. I might as well just go. Nice thing is I don't have to, tomorrow is a holiday, so I don't have to go in for the holiday, which is nice. But yeah, it's just an interesting day, an interesting situation all around. I'm a season behind on Rick and Morty. I wasn't dying to watch more episodes, but I'm not over it either. I'm not I don't like this show anymore. I just have lost interest. And so I watched the first episode today of season 7 because I have been watching Avatar: The Last Airbender again, but the disc was not in my Xbox anymore, so I had to go and watch something else because I didn't feel like going and getting a different disc and finding an episode and all that. It was really bad. So I turned on that instead. And it's just interesting because I keep watching and comparing cartoons to Compression Man. And I think that it is interesting to me to figure out what works for these cartoons, and a lot of it is having its own established universe. I don't think you need to lean on such deliberate jokes when your characters have their own inner workings of a joke, if that makes any sense at all. And that's what it was. It was this ensemble cast of characters that have been around the show that people like and appreciate, and they're just doing some random wacky stuff. And it's I really don't feel like the plots and things are that far off from the wacky stuff that I'm doing. And like I said, I think it's just a matter of finding the audience, finding the people. And I have to believe that my people are out there and that I'm just needing to find them. But in the interim, it is good to watch other successful cartoons and figure out what they're doing and how they can succeed. And I'm trying to navigate these things because I'm very passionate about wanting Compression Man to be family friendly, and Rick and Morty is very much so not that. And so they have a lot of adult content that they can lean on for jokes and for funny things. And I don't know, I feel like that makes it easier when you can be as vulgar as you want with your humor. Not that they're like all that bad. Like they do have like some dark stuff, but it's not like the worst, dirtiest thing I've ever seen. But like they don't have any limitations either. They can, for the most part, say and do what they want. And I didn't necessarily want that with Compression Man. I wanted it to be a family show, which is funny because like on the original run, when I first started it, I started it out that way, and then it turned into something that was quite the opposite by the time season 3 rolled around. It's funny, it really does illustrate like the kind of transformation I had in life. Like I can remember when I was a freshman in high school, I discovered cussing, and I like abused curse words because I thought that was so cool and I could just say what I wanted and no one was ever going to stop me, and I was in charge of my own destiny because of it. And like, you know, silly teenagers, those are the kinds of things that we discover and are hugely impactful on us. But it never crossed over into Compression Man until like my sophomore year or something like that, because I was still like so very hesitant and afraid to say those sorts of things. And like I would never say it in front of my parents. I still don't to this day. But I don't know, it was just this hesitation to do that. And then I added it to Compression Man and it flipped it on its head. And I don't know, it's interesting trying to figure out really what that did for it and what that gained. Initially it worked as like shock value, but then it just kind of became part of the show and it was no longer that big of a deal. I don't think I'll do that on this run, but it's just interesting to observe thoughts and patterns and understand why we think certain things work and why we think certain things don't. And like I, for one, think that adult content is easier to get over on people. I guess it's either one extreme or the other, because like kids content's really easy to get over on children too. And so you're either creating a kids show that is deliberately made for small children to watch and rewatch and rewatch and rewatch, or you're making an adult show that is made for adults to kind of indulge themselves upon. This weird kind of middle ground of maturity is where Compression Man lands, and the kind of content that I hope to make. Something that you can watch with your kids, something that you're fine with your kids watching. It's not necessarily made for small children, but it is for children, or it is for like family-friendly stuff. And so, I don't know. Like I said, I think a lot of it is just patience. I only just uploaded the second episode, what was it, last Friday? So I need to have a little more patience going into it and being like, okay, like, it's been only like not even a month, and so it's going to take a minute to find your footing and to find your audience and to get people watching, and that's fine. Let's just make sure that we do what we need to do what needs to be done, and that we get in a good place with it. And I just need to stick with it. Just like these videos here, these car videos, I keep talking about how largely unsuccessful they've been. And despite it all, I'm still making the videos and still doing the thing. And I feel like there's value in making these, and there's value in having done this sort of thing. And so I'm not going to just be like, okay, well, I've committed to doing 365 episodes. I've done 365. Now I'm going to move on with my life. I'm probably just going to keep it going until I finally get to the place I want to be in terms of success. And maybe I never get there. It sure feels like that anymore. It's like I'm not getting any younger, and I certainly don't seem to be getting any more popular on the internet. And I don't know, I feel like it's a young person's game. There's a lot of statistics and stuff out there to say otherwise, and they're like, who was it? The guy who, Indiana Jones, what is this? Harrison Ford didn't get his first acting job till he was like 35. He was just a carpenter until then. And there's a lot of other people I see running around that like don't get established or known until they're in their mid or late 20s, mid 30s. And so like being the age that I am makes me feel like I'm out of touch with things, but like maybe maybe there's still a chance that I can be relevant. And it all depends on what the situation is that I'm trying for, that I'm aiming for, because I could just take off as Compression Man, and my age doesn't necessarily matter in that. That's completely faceless content. Like nobody knows who I am necessarily, and that doesn't play a large factor in the content I create. But with like this sort of stuff, like if people don't want to see some old aging millennial talking while he drives to work, then they're not going to watch. And they're already kind of showing that. Retention is just a very difficult thing, and especially in this day and age, there's 1,000,001 things that you can watch. And so like deciding why this is going to be the thing that you spend your time on is a big decision to make. And it amazes me how many people bounce around. Like I personally, if I start something, I tend to want to finish it unless it's just abysmal, and then I'll click off. And like I like to think that Compression Man is not abysmal, but most people don't even make it through the intro. It's a 22-second intro, and they do not even make it that far. And of course I was describing this to some buddies of mine, and they're like, well, why don't you just trim out the intro? And I was like, well, it's like, at what point in time are you sacrificing content for the sake of appealing to an audience? And it's like, it's a 22-second intro. If somebody can't finish a 22-second intro, then they can just not watch the show. And like, I think it's important to have a vision and to stick to it. If you create content solely for the sake of creating content and reaching a large audience, then you run the risk of sacrificing the quality of your content. And that's something that not a lot of people talk about or address, but I think it's a pretty common issue. Like, if I'm going to make content and that's what I do, like, do I make quality content because it is quality content, or do I make quality content, or do I make content that I think is going to be popular? And with Compression Man, it's a bit more of a passion project than anything else that I've done. Like stuff on this channel, I might make videos just for the sake of like being popular and sticking out. But for Compression Man, I'm not necessarily gonna do that. I want the project to be what I want the project to be. And like I watch it and find it to be entertaining and fun, so surely somebody else is going to watch it and find it to be entertaining and fun. The comedy behind it can't be so isolated that I am the only individual on earth who finds it to be funny. And that's another thing that people say about reaching your audience is like, if you write something that you legitimately find to be entertaining, then there's going to be people out there who do as well. Like, your opinion is not so unique that you write something that is entertaining only to you. Unless, of course, and even that, I was going to say, unless, of course, like, it's only appealable to, like, people in your immediate family, but everyone has a family. So if it's something that you find humorous among your family, then other people will find humor in it as well, and might even be able to relate it to their family. So I don't think there's anything that is so entirely individual that it is impossible for other people to latch on and enjoy. But I also think that it's important to try and make things as palpable as possible. Compression Man on the surface probably looks like just a random string of events because it's all based on inside jokes between me and my Xbox friends. But like the humor is still there. The basic humor of the situations they find themselves in and the things that they're doing is still there. It's just a matter of whether or not people are finding it, I think. And so it's just interesting all that I'm learning from all that I'm doing, and hoping to continue to learn and continue to do these things until I can learn and do no more. And so we'll see where we fall and how exactly we fall. But I think that we're falling somewhere and we're doing something, and eventually I'll be where I want to be, and I'll look back at the days like these and be like, wow, remember when you had to do this and now you're doing that? I think that'll be a fun and exciting thing. So we'll see. I keep telling people, like, this is the sort of content that would get popular if and when I get popular. Like, if people start to care about who I am, then they'll start to care about these kinds of conversations. But until then, I'm going to keep making them because there's no reason not to. And if the whole world decides that they don't want to watch it, they're not interested, then they don't have to, I suppose. But yeah, it at least gives me a strong backlog. Like if it starts to take off, people will be like, oh my goodness, he's got all this content to watch. Would you look at that? And I'll be like, yeah, there's plenty more where that came from. So we'll see what becomes of it. I thank you for stopping by, as I tend to do. I hope that you are set up to have a wonderful day. I'm looking to have a good one myself. And thank you.